Leo and the Tolstoys. That was Monsters, the Trip Goth version. As it was put in brackets on the compilation. Now, this song, I really liked your vocals. I mean, we were getting to hear more and more female vocalists, and they're just getting better and better. And I would think that would kind of tie into the Trip Goth version, meaning like her vocals were kind of lower and kind of off key, not completely, but it kind of fit in with some of the fades in throughout the song, and especially kind of building towards a bridge and back out to the finish. Danny, Nolan, Catherine, anybody?
Oh yeah, I love it. I'm a little bit Annie Lennox, a little bit on the when she was doing that. It was really nice. I like the guitar work and I like the chords. I think it's a good tune.
No one, Catherine?
Yes. Go ahead. we're being silly here. I'm so sorry.
Is this thing on?
Yeah, it was a very interesting tune. I thought that staccato guitar part that occurred a few times it totally caught me off guard. But I thought the transition in and out was really well done. Cool, psychedelic. It's interesting to hear an 80s synth patch going on. I guess everything comes back around.
Yeah. I actually like this song a lot. When it first started, I thought we were going to hear Chris Isaak, Wicked Games.
Man.
It's like, no, I actually liked her vocals. They're understated, and I think they really served the music really well. And just all the change-ups and all of that, I thought it was a really cool tune.
Now, just before we move on, do you guys have any questions before I get into my next few?
I actually did, and it's almost more of a comment than a question.
Okay.
With Danny, with all of your influence, and I have to say, when you said that Stravinsky was one of your influences, you were absolutely speaking my language, and it was just fascinating to hear all of the influences that you draw from. Do you ever find that it's ever at cross purposes? Because I know a lot of people who have classical backgrounds and then go into jazz and blues and that type of thing. Sometimes they don't always meld together that well, and there's certainly people who think that classical musicians can't play jazz, and I think you're a perfect example of yes, you can. I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
Well, first of all, anybody who studies classical music, and I mean that in itself is, to really get to that level is quite an accomplishment. But even that you hear some of the great players that, and bands that you hear have that kind of background, and right off the top, that gives a musician the basic, technical background and musical background for most fundamental. And jazz, can jazz guys play classical? Maybe except like a Wynton Marsalis. Of you guys, I think it's really, do you hear blues guys cross jazz? But I think that if you come from a classical background, you really pretty much have the chops and the skill set under your fingers. I think that, it's just genres. Like a jazz guy, the real heavy bebop guy should be able to play blues, because really at the bottom of all this stuff that we're listening to and talking about comes blues, from an American standpoint. And then, of course, then we can, get into music history or musicology. And then, of course, a lot of the stuff from Ireland and England, those kind of influences. But, I think a good musician, like nowadays, like a guy that, might see in the background for Bruce Springsteen and playing behind the Stones and playing for Pink, and, a musician that does that pretty much has the skill set. But I think that as a young person that studies classical music, I think it's the strongest thing, the strongest background. But that being said, there are some great jazz players that are just kind of learned by ear, a lot of great guitar players too. So I don't think there's any single formula, but I have great admiration and respect for anybody that really has the audacity to try to play a musical instrument to a high level, because it really is a great amount of work and and dedication. So I love musicians, and I don't really care if they're playing punk or whatever. If you could really get it to that level, And then, as I said, it's like an onion. My
Right.
son once asked me. He said, it's like people being smart and intelligent. And I said, well, just think of it as like a candle. It's like a really smart person is a candle. Maybe somebody like Einstein has like a spotlight on. So it's a stadium lighting. But so it's all different levels of that. But the core is the humanity in the music. And I think as a songwriter and a performer, that's what you really try to do. And that the contact between the idea of the song. I like to write stories, the little story themes behind my song. And then when it really connects with the audience, that's so magical. That I think that's why we do it. And maybe when I was younger, it was to get girls. But
Yeah.
That's what you do, right, Nolan?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the chicks, man.
How's that work for you?
It worked pretty good.
Well, you wanted a hot one there, no one, so obviously it did work in some way.
Yeah.
So just before we move on, Danny, kind of half answered my next question. Is your songwriting? You said you like to write stories. Now, are these just? Is it all like experience, or is it just kind of just random things you kind of think up? So, you know what, this would make a great song. I'm going to write it. Just going to write up kind of just a random story and kind of do like impromptu.
Well, it's different influences. Like something might be something I saw on the news. It might be. It could be something I see in real life, or it could be a person I look at and I kind of like figure out what they're doing. I mean, so it's really. It could come from anything. The germ of an idea, I'm working on a song now called "When We Were Young," and I was like, I guess I could sing about that. But the story of the song is, reflecting on how we were when we were younger. The optimism, and we could climb Mount Olympus, and then. What happens is, I'm on like who's this reflection in the mirror or there's a window pane. So sometimes it's personal experiences. Sometimes it's just seeing some guy walking down the street singing, or a character or something on the news that hit me. So the inspiration could come from anywhere, But in my songs, I really do have. I'm trying to do a storyline. I mean, even an instrumental, there should be. I have to have some kind of visual. I guess that's how I work.
Right on. So we're going to get to our next band on this compilation. The band is called Queen Bitch, and the song's called Wild Hearts. Dig this.
Fight down, fight
Right on. That was Queen Bitch with Wild Hearts. And let me say right off the bat, man, did anybody else hear Skinner in there?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Give me 2 steps.
Yeah. Man, it was a great tune. I love the keyboards. And I know I said this in the past about another band. I can't remember which one band it was. But a little bit of Bachman-Turner Overdrive. Again.
Yeah. We heard that too.
We will agree this
We'll
time.
agree to that. I actually heard some Warren Zevon too, but
Yeah.
No.
I just rock and roll. That sounds like a Jersey bar band. I would love to see them. They sound like a great band to see. A lot of fun.
It's so funny that you said that. We listened to this compilation before we went on air, and I said, that just sounds like such a bar band, but a really high-level bar band. Such a great tune. It's so solid. The vocals, and that's, Brian, as you said, the keyboard parts, and the guitar riffs were solid, and just great. Really well done.
Yeah.
Good tune, and the first thing I thought of actually was Rod Stewart's band, Back Around Every Picture Tells a Story, and Stones. Thought it was well done.
Actually, yeah, good point. No, not just stated. I can definitely tell that. I completely skipped over that, and I shouldn't have. I actually just recently finished the Mick Jagger book, so.
Right.
So either way, yeah, great tune. We have time for a few more questions, and then we're gonna wrap things up. So, Danny, what's up and coming? What's new on the horizons for you?
Well, as I said, I'm writing. I'm finishing this record and kind of writing another one. I just can't wait. I just can't wait till tomorrow. I get better looking every day.
Oh, that's so great to hear.
Yeah.
Well, man, I could tell you, definitely looking forward to hearing that stuff. Catherine Nolan, anything else?
No, and I say no because this was a great interview. You really covered a lot of ground and lots of really interesting stuff. I really enjoyed listening to you.
Absolutely. I agree.
And I'm a big fan of MadAndersos. I think you guys are doing a great job. And I mean, all of it, everybody here, Bones, man, for having I just appreciate it. I'm honored to be on the show and to be a part of all this. And of course, NYC Factory Fast Records, they rock.
They do indeed.
Yeah, big shout out to Brian from NYC.
Yes,
so,
sir.
Danny, thank you so much for being on the show. We really had a good time, and we'd love to have you back on again soon, maybe when the new album comes out.
Oh, definitely. I look forward to it. And I'll be listening to your show.
Awesome. Well, Danny, you have a great night, and we'll definitely keep in touch, brother.
All right, man. Peace out.
All right, take it easy.
Bye.
All right, guys, that was our special guest, Danny Petroni.